Hey, I'm Nick Boy and welcome to Pocket for Thursday, the 9th of March. Today on the show, proteins in space, Haley Joel Osment, and a GDC surprise. I assume that means Haley Joel Osment is my guest? Or it's proteins in space? But before I'm joined by Pay It Forward, here's what's been making headlines. Sony has included health and safety information regarding the PlayStation VR in their latest firmware update. The information states pretty frankly that the VR headset is not for use by children under the age of 12. Because of course their baby brains are still forming and PlayStation doesn't want to send them spinning off into the dark zone where they can't discern between VR and reality. Because then those kids couldn't buy games when they get older. Because they'd be dead. To compare this with some of the other kit on the market, Samsung's Gear VR and the Oculus Rift have age restrictions of 13. An age limit has not been announced for the HTC Vive. VR! It's totally safe if you're an adult. Just for the love of God, don't put it on your child, because you'll kill it. 2.5D shooter Hollow Point has entered development limbo after a falling out between the developer and publisher. Back in 2014, Ruffian Games, the team who made Crackdown 2, announced that it had teamed up with Magicka publisher Paradox Interactive to make Hollow Point. We didn't hear much else about the game until E3 last year, and apparently shortly after that, things went south for the partnership. To GameWatcher.com, Paradox said, "It became apparent to both parties that the creative vision for the project was diverging, and so the decision was ultimately taken to cease our cooperation." Ruffian has told Eurogamer that its focus has shifted to its other game, Fragmental, which has just entered Steam's early access. Bethesda dropped a new multiplayer trailer for Doom. It shows off some of the more interesting game modes, including freeze tag, and reveals that players will be able to consume pentagrams to become super buff demons. The closed beta dates were also revealed. It's running on PS4, Xbox One, and PC from the 31st of March to the 3rd of April for those who pre-ordered Wolfenstein: The New Order and redeemed the accompanying beta code. Remember that game you pre-ordered in May of 2014 and threw away the little slip inside that talked about some Doom multiplayer? Well, your bonus content is ready to be collected. Microsoft are considering compensating Xbox Live Gold users who were affected by the service's recent downtime. Short outages in January and February this year saw cases of people being blocked from downloading and, thanks to DRM checks, launching already installed games. Director of Programming for Xbox Live, Larry Herb, responded to a Reddit thread which was questioning Microsoft's commitment to the users. Herb said, "I've taken some of the more thoughtful comments and shared them with a few folks on the Xbox team to make them aware of this request." It wouldn't be the first time that Microsoft has compensated Xbox Live users for downtime. I'm joined now by the child star of I'll Remember April, Lynn G, to discuss our final news story.
I see dead white people.
Oh, way to make it racial, Mr. Osment. A new update to EVE Online has included a mini-game which will assist real-life scientific research. Project Discovery, as it's called, will reward players with medals, in-game currency, and analysis credits for finding patterns in images of protein cells. I feel like this is the right community to be sort of leveraging for this sort of problem. We've got, as of last year, there's still tens of thousands of people playing EVE. And it's the kind of game that is so dense and complex and requires so much investment that if you're going to put like problem-solving sort of mini-games and stuff to help science, EVE is the one where the players are probably going to get the most invested.
Absolutely, and it's played by uber nerds. So, they're probably the
Total
2%,
nerds.
They are part of Mensa. They are the geniuses that you want solving your science problems.
It's probably all the people who are currently working on this problem going, I would like to work on this at home, but at home I play EVE. So how can I combine these two things together? And it's not the first time this sort of thing's happened before. We've got numerous examples of games helping science with, we've had Folding at Home on the PS3, which was the sort of protein stuff there as well. In 2011, the University of Washington needed help solving a 10-year problem, and there was this game Folded, which gamers could sort of solve protein problems in that. It took them less than 10 days to find a solution to that.
Yeah, they actually found a solution to the enzyme, which
Yes.
causes HIV to turn to AIDS, right?
Yes.
Which is absolutely amazing. In 10 days, they solved this, and scientists probably spent years on it.
You were telling me about one earlier.
Yes, and I can't believe that no one in this office remembers this. But
I don't believe it existed. but
okay, it's called
lie to the
SETI.
people.
It's called SETI at home, and anyone who was alive in 1999 and used a computer probably used it. So basically, it was a program made by SETI, and they took the data from Arecibo base.
The giant
The
satellite.
giant satellite dish
Yeah.
in Puerto Rico. I think it's in Puerto Rico.
I don't even believe the thing exists in the first place.
It does
but go
exist,
ahead.
and I think it featured in GoldenEye and a lot of films like Contact
Right, okay.
and stuff.
Oh, right, yeah, that
like
one.
the giant one in the ground.
Yeah.
And so they took data from that and they fed it to home computers around the world. And your computer, with your processor back in '99, would then go through the data and try and find extraterrestrial life. Like that was the entire point of SETI at home.
Do we know any of the results?
No, I mean, the CIA could have been using our computers at home to process data, right?
That
we
must
don't
have
even
been
know
what
what
it
they
is.
were
It's
doing.
like, yeah, because you could just go, you could do it for years, we never found extraterrestrial life,
Yeah.
but thank you very much everyone for participating. But the whole
Exactly.
time, we've been crunching to sort of like listen into phone calls. And
But
that sort of
but the greatest thing about kind of that late '90s, early noughties was there was still this excitement about science
Yeah,
and space,
totally,
and
yeah.
it was post films like Contact and Armageddon and
Yeah.
people and the X-Files era, right? And so people saw this as a way of using home technology to find aliens.
You got to use that
which is
10
amazing.
megabytes of RAM for something. Like,
Right?
and it wasn't amazing video games at the time.
Yeah.
Did you have a PS3? Did you do the folding at home thing?
No.
Right, because I installed that on my PS3 and I let that run for a few days, but then it tended to just heat up my PS3 a bit, and sometimes the fans would kick in. And I was like, cancer can wait. I'll uninstall this because that's getting a little annoying in my house.
Did
the
you
silent
did
whir
you worry
around.
about how much your power bills went up?
I didn't, but my parents probably did. That may be why they got divorced. All right, moving on now. It's Thing of the Day. Thing of the Day. Google's AlphaGo AI program has defeated legendary Go player Lee Sedol in the first of 5 historic matches being held in South Korea over the next week. Lee resigned after 3.5 hours, making this the first officially recorded Go match won by an artificial intelligence. The end is nigh. Pay it forward is coming.
But this is just a massive.
Yeah, he's revising the endgame. He's showing the mistake that AlphaGo made, actually.
Right.
Showing that he gained a little bit right there. And we have a result.
There's our official result.
Yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations to AlphaGo.
Thing of the Day. All right, now it's talk through time where you suggest a topic and we talk through it. Today's topic comes in from us. And that topic is, it's a long one. Why is Linji here today? Why is Nick talking to her? And what are you two doing next week? That is a very good question. Do you want to answer that one?
Well, I think I'm a pretty interesting guest, right? I mean, I just come on all the time because you like me.
I mean, that's definitely 10% of the reason that you're here.
But the main reason is we are going to GDC next week.
We are going to GDC next week. We are going to San Francisco, baby. The Big Easy.
It's just going to
the
be
Smoky
Full House
Apple.
parodies the entire week.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to be going over there and covering GDC for the week. Next week, Pocket will be hosted by other people, and I'll tell you a bit about that later. But what are we going to be doing in GDC?
So I'm still planning out our schedule, but I think it's going to be really awesome. We're actually going in conjunction with Creative Victoria, who are taking a delegation of 50 developers and other people involved in the games industry from Melbourne to GDC. And
Most of these people, this is the first time they're going there.
Yeah, for a lot of people, this is the first time they're going. I caught up with Laura Voss, who is a very young developer straight out of uni. She's going for the first time. She's taking a game that they developed during uni last year. But I've talked to also a lot of other really experienced developers who have attended GDC, when they were working for AA and AAA companies in Australia. But now they are taking their first indie games to GDC.
Yeah,
so
cool.
they're really excited that, they're taking their own IPs.
They're not part of the
GDC.
machine anymore. They're free.
No. So it's been really exciting having a chat with these people last week. I went down to Melbourne and I went to the delegation meeting and met
She's
a lot
been very
of,
diplomatic. She basically went, here's the good talent. That's what she did.
Yeah, I had to vet
The wheat
people.
from the chaff.
I had to vet people. They were all incredibly nice.
Most of them were chaff.
You'll have to talk to them, most of them. So I had to...
All of them were wheat.
I had to vet them to make sure that they wouldn't wilt under the pressure. From Nick
of being
Boy.
called chaff. Well, these hands are going on
so
in their face.
they were strong enough to answer your questions. But they were incredibly brilliant people, and I'm really, really excited to catch up with them when we're at GDC and to see how they're going.
I am super, super excited about this. I've never been to GDC before, and I in particular am really looking forward to seeing how games are made. Most of GDC, it's a bit different from E3. There is a show floor and people are showing off games and that sort of thing. But most of it is about actually making deals or networking and meeting people and giving talks about like how games are made to this. Like there are panels that's just about how AI pathing was made for The Division. And you go, that is an incredibly specific thing that I'm super into.
I think for a lot of people, it becomes a sort of a research trip.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to sell their games, they're trying to create networks that will help their company in the future and learn more from other developers, through the talks and the summits.
Yeah.
And also just to meet people at the bar or, in the tunnel between the two expo halls. It's all really about the community. And everyone I've talked to down in Melbourne have said, it is really brilliant and it's such a really chilled out event compared to something like E3, which is very much, as you said, part of the marketing machine. And I think good game. Like we've only been to GDC once in 2008.
Was Barjo
with Barjo?
Janet went?
Yeah, and Janet went. And so as a show, like we've got our E3 kind of coverage program down pat right now. We go every year. We've got a schedule that we go with. And GDC this time round, we're playing it a little by ear, and we're going to see, what happens because it has changed a lot since 2008.
And the things we've been talking about over the past couple of weeks is that it's going to be more... the reason that we're doing this is we're going to be putting out a special on GDC, which will go to air, I think, sometime in April. Don't necessarily hold us to that, but it's sometime around
I think the idea is to go to air in April.
Yeah, and so that'll be on ABC, and but we're going with a more personal sort of look at the people involved in this process, because obviously E3 is all about games, and this is more going to be like following people's hopes and hoping that they don't get crushed by wargaming or something.
I don't think they'll get crushed. I think it's going to be
they could get crushed.
I think it's going to be very inspirational and transformative for a lot of the developers whom we are going to be meeting.
I think it will be insane for them. It will be it must be so exciting. I'm excited, and I don't even have a game.
But you don't really even need a game this year, right? Because VRDC is running in conjunction with GDC.
Yeah.
So a lot of the developers I met down in Melbourne are working in the VR space right now. And I know that, Oculus, Microsoft, Sony, and Steam are also making big VR announcements.
Yeah, PlayStation's doing, I think, their big PlayStation VR sort of reveal thing there.
Yeah, it's massive, and I almost think, just from the emails I've been getting from everyone, like VR is the biggest thing this year. Even at GDC.
I'm very excited about what we're going to be doing, and Pocket will be continuing next week as well while I'm gone. The host, it'll just be a rotating seat, so Barjo and Hex will each have a day, and there will be some other familiar faces from the Good Game family sort of filling in and making sure this whole show continues. Someone has to make John do something during the week. Alright, that's it for today's episode of Pocket. Jump on the internet to check out everything Good Game on Facebook, YouTube, and iView. Want to meet fellow Pocketeers? Then join the Pocketeers Facebook group and Steam group. You can follow Good Game on Twitter at GoodGameTV, follow Pocket at NickBoy, at Pierreth, at GG, at Monkey, and at SamG. She's at Elgeology, and there are links to everything I just said in the description below. Today's Thing of the Day graphic was made by Trap Shorty. Thank you, Trap Shorty. If you've made a thing, please send it in. Until tomorrow, NickBoy out.
Lingy out.
Going on holiday.
It's gonna be awesome.
In my mind, it's a holiday.
It'll be a holiday with you.
Yeah, and JP.
I'm slightly worried now.